It finally happened. We got a couple days with a little rain. They ended wildfire season. I think all of Oregon is now out of wildfire season. Today we're going to go on a little bit of a killing spree, and it all starts with this one. All right, now you'll be sleeping with the fishes. See, this is what we call girdling. Cutting 2 or more rings around a tree. We cut in past the cambium. It cuts off the flow of water and nutrients up and down the tree, killing the tree. This is something you do to kill a tree if you don't want to cut the tree down. You could also do hack and squirt, where you chop some hacks into the tree, then spray herbicide. This way is a little less, I don't know, it's just another way to do it. This tree falls under some definitions of a wolf tree, a tree that spreads out wide, taking up more than its fair share of space, crowding out other trees. In some cases, a tree like that would be fine, but in this case, it's crowding out these oaks over here, which long term will be better trees for this site. Crowding out this madrone and these other firs, pines, and cedars that are better formed than this tree. As is the case on much of this property, there are just too many trees in this spot, all competing for limited resources. Which one do I take out? How about this one that's just poorly formed? Instead of cutting it down and using it for wood, it's not worth much for wood. I think it's worth more to leave as a wildlife snag. These are some of the ones I girdled last year. Try to save these madrones. It's a way to eliminate the competition from these trees that are tangled up in the trees around them, so I don't damage the trees around them. Over here is an especially tough site for Douglas fir. The bugs are going through and killing them anyway. I might as well favor the trees that do okay here, like the madrone and the oaks. I girdled that one last year. The madrones around it are looking happy. Bugs killed that tree. Instead of prolonging the inevitable, having this be a bug breeding site, might as well take out the trees that aren't doing well here to give more resources to the trees that are doing well. There are just too many trees in here. None of the ones that need to be taken out are worth harvesting. This isn't ideal doing it this way, but girdling them is better than leaving it overcrowded, I think. What I am doing here is the exact opposite of what foresters would have recommended doing not long ago. The idea of girdling the Douglas fir in favor of the hardwoods would have been considered forest heresy. Probably still is with some people. The common practice was always to girdle the hardwoods, or hack and spray or otherwise take out the hardwoods in favor of the Douglas fir, because the Douglas fir is the commercial valuable timber around here. But now we are starting to learn there are places where Douglas fir that's why I wear a hard hat. We're starting to learn there are places where Douglas fir just doesn't grow very well, like this spot. It's better suited for other trees, so taking out the Douglas fir makes sense. And there are other values to a forest than just growing timber. This part of the property is not really a timber growing part of the property. This I manage more for aesthetics and wildlife. There are parts of the property where Douglas fir do well, and it probably wouldn't make sense to girdle the Douglas fir in favor of the hardwoods. That's why I'm not doing it over there, and I am doing it here. Now the wind's coming up, to state the obvious. These madrone trees should be really happy to have these Douglas firs dead. This should be a really nice grove of madrones once everything's thinned out. Without these overcrowding Douglas firs sucking a lot of water out of the ground, these madrone will have a better chance of surviving our long, hot, dry summers where moisture is really limited. The pines in here, all but one of these big pines died last year. If I would have taken out these competing Douglas firs years ago, these pines may have survived a bug attack because they may have had more water to fight off the bugs. But with too many trees sucking out the limited moisture, it got up to 112 degrees here this summer, and the last 2 summers it got at least that hot. It's not uncommon for it to be in the upper 90s and hundreds much of the summer here. And in the summer, we get very little, if any, rain the whole summer. The rain that goes in the ground during the wet season, the winter, has to tide all the trees over through the summer. If you have too many trees like this, there's just not enough water for all of them, especially in a site like this that has relatively shallow soil. Onward. I'll leave this Douglas fir. It's not as crowded here, and I'm not a complete exterminationist. Is that even a word? Is now. Now we're getting into a place where the Douglas fir is merchantable size. It would be silly to girdle these ones when I could sell them to the mills. This place has a more healthy spacing. I think it's just fine the way it is. We'll leave these ones alone for now. This place is overcrowded, but I'm not going to girdle these trees. I can cut these trees down without them doing damage. Over there, if I cut those fir trees down, I said birch trees, I meant fir trees down, it's going to damage the madrones because the madrones have these tangled up branches that the firs are tangled up in. These conifers will just slide between each other without damage. And it's close to the road, and some of these are merchantable. These ones make more sense to cut them down to thin them. You might be thinking creating all these dead trees could be increasing the wildfire danger. And you would be right. These dead trees will create a temporary fire hazard. I would say temporary and minor. The green trees are already a fire hazard when they are dry in the summer, when they haven't had rain in 6 months. The brown trees will be more of a fire hazard, but in a year or 2, all these needles will fall off. The small branches will quickly rot away, fall to the ground. Even though it does create a temporary fire hazard, I think long term, it's going to be less of a fire hazard after these trees start to deteriorate. Eventually, this is what they will look like. Not a lot of fuel. Compared to a live Douglas fir that's been in 112-degree weather and hasn't had rain in 6 months. Having some dead wood in the forest is beneficial to wildlife. Things live in there. I wouldn't want to do this to a whole property. Excluding that first one we did, The area that I covered here doing this is about the size of an average house. It's just a small piece of the property. Now it's starting to rain. I'm as comfy as can be under this wide brim hard hat, but my camera equipment does not like rain. Maybe I need to get a hard hat for it too. But until I haven't. So I better get out of here and cut this one short. Hold on, it's tomorrow. I just remembered that I forgot to remember something yesterday, which is the most important thing that I should mention. And that is the reason I'm doing this now in the fall is because if I girdle them now, they will have all fall, winter into the spring to die before the flat-headed fir borers that are killing the Douglas firs are able to attack them, because they come out later in the summer when the trees are stressed. But by the time they come out, these trees will already be dead. So I'm not creating a bug breeding situation here where they will attack these trees, breed, and then spread to the rest. Which may sound silly that I'm killing trees at a certain time to keep the bugs from killing trees, but the flat-headed fir borers don't go after the trees that need to be taken out because they're competing with other trees. They go after trees that they shouldn't be going after. They're not real selective. If only I could train the bugs to go after the right trees and leave the wrong trees alone, or go after the wrong trees and leave the right trees alone. If anybody knows a good bug trainer, let me know. The tree killing bugs won't go after trees if they're already dead. They only go after live trees. Another situation where girdling is useful, if you have trees that are sensitive to being suddenly released, suddenly exposed to the sun, there are some types of trees that can experience sun scald or thinning shock if you expose them to direct sunlight too quickly after they've been shaded for a long time. When you girdle them, the needles or foliage falls off slowly and gradually exposes them to more sunlight, which allows them time to acclimate to the sunlight. Same with us, if we've been inside in a winter environment for months, then we go on some tropical vacation, go out in the sun, we get sunburned all of a sudden. Unless we take the time to slowly acclimate ourselves to the sun, get a tan, then we develop resistance to the sun. Same with some types of trees. If it's been growing in the shade of another tree for years and then you take that shade away, it can get scorched. I think that's all I had. Now you can go.